everyone, how are you doing? It's always a pleasure to meet you once again. Welcome again to a new lesson of our distance learning courses. Today, we're going to be having a grammatic lesson. As you can see from the first slide, the grammatic lesson that we have today is about two main words and at the same time very used words in English, which are some and any. We're going to be having a look at first, what do we mean by some and any? And then when do we use some and any? And how to differentiate between the two. And of course, we're going to be practicing those words through a couple of exercises. But before we start dealing with some and any as the main words in this lesson, we're going to see them in relation to countable and uncountable nouns. So this is what we're going to be starting with mainly. Differentiating between countable and uncountable nouns. Why? Because again, as I said, we use those words in relation with them. So let's start. First, we're going to start by reminding you of what do we mean by the word nouns. Because some and any, we use them with nouns. So they go hand in hand with nouns. So to define nouns, we're going to put it in a very, very simple way. A noun is a word used to identify a person. So first of all, a noun is a word. Keep that in mind. A noun is a word. As we said, or as we all know, it's not a verb, it's not an adjective, it's not an adverb. It is simply a word. Why do we use this word? In order to identify a person, a place, an animal, or an object. So nouns are words used to identify people, places, animals, and objects. Let's give some examples so that the idea would be clear for you. If I say the name Samantha, now Samantha is a word, or in other words, it's a noun that identifies a person. Every name that you know is a noun that identifies a person. So if you say, for example, Samantha, Jack, John, Paul, Elizabeth, Natasha, and so on and so forth. Those are names or nouns that identify people. Second example we've got here, the noun Canada, or the name Canada. So Canada is a word that identifies a place. The country, Canada. We can have more examples. You can say, for example, the house. You can say United States of America, Morocco, France, and so on and so forth. A dog. A dog is a word that identifies an animal, of course. So we can have more examples. A dog, a cat, a horse, an elephant, and so on and so forth. The last example, a table. A table is a word that defines or it identifies, to be more clear, it identifies an object. So a table is an object, a computer, a camera, a mobile phone, and so on and so forth. Now, in general, if we want to be talking about nouns, we can say that nouns are divided into two main types. First, we've got countable nouns. So the first category of nouns in English is countable nouns. The second one is uncountable nouns. So now we're going to go and try to see what are countable nouns and what are uncountable nouns and how can we differentiate between the two. How can I know that this noun is countable or uncountable? Okay, so stay tuned and let's go together. The first one is countable nouns. So what are countable nouns? Or how can I know that a noun is countable or not? First, we can count them. To know whether a noun is countable or not, try to count it. What do we mean by counting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. So if you take a noun and you can count it, it means that it is countable. Let's give an example. Look at the following picture. We've got here apples. Can we count the apples? Yes, we can. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, count with me. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many apples have we got here in this picture? We've got 8 apples. So the noun apples is countable. Number 2, they can be singular as well as plural, which means these nouns, they can take the singular form and the plural form. Let's give an example. Have a look at this picture. We have got here students. Students, the noun students is countable. Why? First, because we can count it, of course. Second, because it takes the singular form and the plural form. You say, I am working with a student. So it is singular. Or you say, in this classroom, we are 37 students. Plural form. Here in the picture, we have the plural form. So countable nouns, they can take the singular form and the plural form. The same thing we would be saying about this picture. Here we've got tomatoes, since we're talking about food. So tomatoes is also a countable noun. Why? First, we can count it. Second, we can give it the singular and the plural form at the same time. So we can say 1 tomato, a lot of tomatoes. We can add numbers to them, which means countable nouns, we can count them and put numbers next to them. Let's give an example. Now here, this is a picture of chairs. Now, how many chairs have we got in this picture? Let's count them again together. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we have got 4 chairs. You can go ahead and write the number 4 next to the picture. So they accept numbers. You say, in this class, I have got 4 chairs. Or in this room, there are 4 chairs. So these are countable nouns. So what are countable nouns? First, we can count them. Second, they take the singular and the plural form. And last but not least, they can take and accept numbers. You can add numbers to them. Moving on to the second type of nouns, which is uncountable nouns. Now, everything that we have mentioned before about countable nouns, now we're going to be saying the complete opposite of that. Let's see. If we said that countable nouns, we can count them. Uncountable nouns, we cannot count them. Let's have a look. In this picture, we've got milk. Now a question. Can you count milk? Try to count it. Can you say 1 milk, 2 milks, 3 milks? No, you can't. So milk is obviously uncountable. Number 2, if we said again that countable noun, they can take the singular form and the plural form. When we are talking about uncountable nouns, keep in mind that they are always singular. Means they don't take the plural form. The same example with milk. Can we say milks? No, we can't. So it is uncountable. Another example, here we've got sugar. Can we add an S or give the plural form to the word sugar? No, we can't. You can say sugars. I need sugars. You say, I need sugar. I need a lot of sugar. You never put it in the plural form. Next, we cannot add numbers to them. Obviously, since we cannot count them, we cannot give them the plural form, it's really obvious that you cannot add numbers to them. They don't take numbers. Example, we've got here water. Can you say, I have 10 waters? No, you can't. So they don't accept numbers. Now, let's go and compare again, once again, between countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Let's go together. Let's revise together. We said countable nouns, we can count them. They can be singular and plural at the same time, and they accept or we can add numbers to them. When it comes to uncountable nouns, we said we cannot count them. They're always singular and they don't take numbers. Now, let's move to practice. Let's see whether you have understood or not. Practice. Classify the following nouns. Classify the following nouns. Let's have a look. We have a number of nouns here in this exercise. Your job is to classify them whether they are countable or uncountable. How can you tell? Again, see if you can count it, if you can give it the plural form, or if it accepts the number, then it is countable. If it doesn't, then obviously it is uncountable. So the nouns that we have got here in this exercise are the following: bottles, money, tables, classroom, teacher, rice, eggs, coffee, water, hair, pens, cars, bread, juice, bag, cat, butter, and cheese. So I'll give you some time to do the exercise and to classify the nouns given. Okay, so let's correct together. Let's start first with countable nouns. So what are the countable nouns that we have got in this list? Bottles. I think this one is easy because it's already plural form, so you can tell. The same thing we would say about tables. So bottles, tables, classroom. How do we know classroom? Classrooms. Teacher, the same thing. You say, my English teacher is nice, or all of my teachers are nice. So singular and plural, so it is automatically countable. Next, we've got eggs, the same thing you said. I need 1 egg to make an omelette, or I need 3 eggs to make an omelette. Pens, for example, you say, I can give you a red pen because I have got 2 pens, so it is countable. A bag, same thing, bags. Cars, and then the last one is cat. Moving on to uncountable nouns. What are the nouns that we have got here and they are uncountable? First, we have money. Now, keep in mind that the word money in English is uncountable. You cannot count the word money. You cannot say, for example, I have got 10 monies in my pocket. No, you cannot count the word money. So it is uncountable. Rice also is uncountable. Juice, since it's a liquid. Coffee, the same thing. Water, again. Hair, you cannot count hair. It is uncountable. Butter, uncountable. And the last one is cheese. So now we're done with countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Let's move now to the second part of this lesson, which is dedicated to the main words some and any. Now, some and any, those 2 words can sometimes be very confusing. Yes, sometimes they can be very confusing. You don't know when to say some or when to say any. Well, we've got some good news for you. Today, we're going to be able to understand that and to differentiate between these 2 words. First of all, let's give them a definition. What is any and what is some? To put it simply again, some and any, they mean a non-specific quantity of something. Meaning, when you don't know the exact amount or the exact quantity or the exact number of something. You don't know for sure. Let me give you an example so that you would understand. Example number 1. I need to buy some bread. I need to buy some bread. I didn't state and I didn't say how much bread or the amount of bread I need to buy. I just said I need to buy some bread. It could be a small quantity or it could be a big quantity. So I don't know for sure. Some bread, not specific. Another example, is there any pasta left? Is there any pasta left? Again here, I don't know the amount of pasta. I didn't specify the amount of pasta that I want. I'm just asking whether there is pasta in the first place or not. So, some and any, they mean a non-specific amount, quantity, or number of something. Now, let's move to their use. Let's start with the first word, which is some. Now, question is, when do we use some? Now that I have understood the meaning of some, when do I get to use it? Number one, we use some with positive or affirmative sentences. Now, here's something to draw your attention to. Here, we're going to be basically working with the types of sentences. So I need you to be quite familiar with the types of sentences that we have got in English. How many sentences have we got? We've got 3. Affirmative, negative, and interrogative. So those are the main types of sentences that we have in English. We're going to be using them in order to tell whether we use some or any. So let's go back. We said we use some with positive or affirmative sentences. Let's give an example. I left you some bananas in the kitchen. I left you some bananas in the kitchen. Now, the first thing to draw your attention to is that we are working here with an affirmative sentence. This is an affirmative sentence. And again, I use some because I don't know the quantity of bananas I'm talking to. I said I just left you some. It could be a little, it could be a lot. We don't know. Number 2, we use some with both countable and uncountable nouns. So it's okay for you to use some with a noun which is countable, and at the same time, it's pretty much correct to use it with a noun which is uncountable. Let's give more examples. If I say, I have some water if you are thirsty, the first thing, water is uncountable. Again, we're using it with an affirmative sentence. So I have some water if you are thirsty. Another example, there is some jam in the jar. There is some jam in the jar. And again, the word jam or the noun jam is uncountable. So let's revise what we have said. We use some with affirmative or positive statements or sentences. We can use some with both countable and uncountable nouns, as you have seen in the examples. Now let's move to the second word, which is any. The same thing we would be talking about. When do we use any? And I'll provide you with some examples so that you'd be able to understand. Use. If we have said that we use some with affirmative sentences, we use any with negative sentences and interrogative sentences or questions. So some we use it only with one type of sentences, which is the affirmative, and any we use with both negative sentences and interrogative sentences or questions if you want to ask a question. Again, we can also use any with both countable and uncountable nouns. This is a common point between the two words, between some and any, is that you can use them with both countable and uncountable nouns. Let's give an example. Did you leave any soup for me? First, here we've got a question, interrogative sentence. So we're going to be using any. Plus, we have soup. The noun soup, it's uncountable. So did you leave any soup for me? Number 2, there aren't any tomatoes in the fridge. This sentence is a negative sentence. We have the word aren't, so it's negative. Plus, the noun tomatoes is a countable noun. So there aren't any tomatoes in the fridge. The last example, is there any juice left? Is there any juice left? We've got a question, so we're using any, plus juice is an uncountable noun. Again, let's revise together. We use any with both negative sentences and interrogative sentences. And we can also use it with both, again, countable and uncountable nouns. Now, let's move to practice to see whether you have understood again or not. Exercise number 1. Imagine the following situation. Let's say, for example, you return home after a long, tiring day at school. Let's say you've had classes in the morning and maybe you've had another class in the afternoon. So it's really a very tiring and long and exhausting day. So you come home, you return home, and you are extremely hungry. You're so hungry. obviously, because you've been studying the whole day. You think of making a sandwich. So since you're hungry, you want to grab something really fast, a snack or something. So you think of making a sandwich. Now, what I want you to do, write a list of the ingredients that you have and don't have in your fridge, using both some and any. If you could remember, in the previous lesson, lesson 1, we have already spoken about shopping list. So you are going to be writing a shopping list using the words some and any. Let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. You open the fridge and you have a quick look at the things that you have and you don't have. You say, for example, okay, I want to make a sandwich. I have some tomatoes and I have some cheese, but I don't have any olives. I don't have any toasts. For example, if you like sauces, you say, I don't have any sauce, and so on and so forth. So write the shopping list of the ingredients that you have and you don't have using both some and any. Moving on to the next exercise. Exercise number 2, fill in the blanks with some or any. So you have sentences, read the sentences, make sure you pay attention to the type of the sentence, whether it's affirmative or negative or interrogative, because that's the thing that is going to be helping you to know whether to use some or any. So we'll give you some time to do the exercise. So, okay, let's move to the correction. Sentence number 1. Bill hasn't got, and we have a negative sentence, so the obvious answer is any. Bill hasn't got any money. Number 2, Sue will give us information. Here we have an affirmative sentence, so the obvious answer is some, of course. Number 3, are there potatoes in the basket? Question mark. So automatically we're going to go with any. Are there any potatoes in the basket? D, there is honey in the fridge. Affirmative sentence. So we're going to be using some. Very good. So there is some honey in the fridge. I need papers. I need, of course, some papers. You must eat fresh fruits if you want to stay healthy. Again, here the type of sentence that we're working with is affirmative. So automatically we're going to be using some. You must eat some fresh fruits if you want to stay healthy. We haven't got oranges at the moment. The type of sentences that the sentence that we're working with is a negative one because we've got not, haven't. So let's go with any, of course. We haven't got any oranges at the moment. Next, I am going to buy new books to read. I am going to buy new books to read. Affirmative sentence. The answer is some for sure. The last one, do you have pencils in your bag? And again, as soon as you see the question mark, you automatically know that you are working with an interrogative sentence. So we use any with it. Do you have any pencils in your bag? Moving on to the last exercise for this lesson. Now it's your turn to produce your own language, your own sentences. Write 4 sentences using both some and any. So I want you to think about something that you have or something that you don't have. Try producing your own sentences using the new learned words, some and any. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, I have some friends on my Facebook account, or I don't have any friends on my Facebook account. So you do it on your own and check whether you are using some and any and the type of sentences you're working on. With this exercise, we have come to the end of this lesson. Thank you so very much for your attention. See you next time. Goodbye.